Could I interest you in a whole lot of games that have come out recently or will come out in the near future? On June 14th, 2025, I put out the first video outlining some good finds I had in the June edition of Steam Next Fest. And now, about 2.5 months later, I'm finally covering the last few demos I had downloaded. Before I go over these last few games, I just want to take the time to thank everyone who has been watching, liking, commenting and subscribing. This channel officially passed the 200 sub mark during this mess, and I'm incredibly happy about it. Without further ado, welcome to Strig's Game Café, everyone. Have a cup of Steam Next Fest. Wanna manage a cafe from your desktop? Not Monday Café by Sunny Syrup Studio lets you do just that. The game is one of those desktop idle games that only covers a part of the screen or you keep working on something else. And I dare say it does its job. I finished writing the script with it running in the background all the while. Your little cafe has 3 rooms: the cafe proper, the kitchen, and a farm where you grow your ingredients. You also start with 3 staff members, one assigned to each room. The game loop consists of planting the ingredients, cooking them, and serving them to customers who enter the cafe, with tips being given for service. You can water and harvest stuff faster, as well as get tips and clean tables by clicking around, but you don't really have to do it. The staff will do it on their own if left alone. You also get these little quests to complete at your own pace, and they offer pretty substantial pay when finished. As you gain more money, you can buy new equipment for your kitchen, hire more staff to speed up the process of serving food, buy more tables to accommodate more clients, and as is par for the course when it comes to cozy games, decorations for your cafe. You can control which food items are on your menu, and both the food and the kitchen appliances can be upgraded, which in turn typically unlocks more new recipes and more things to harvest in your farm. Additionally, you can expand all 3 areas of the cafe to get more space for everything. Once you've upgraded things far enough, you can pretty much just sit back and let the staff handle the rest. All in all, it was pretty worth it to leave Not Monday Café on my background. Who knows? Maybe it can become a mainstay there, since it's already out. What about an FPS roguelike game where you fight bizarre entities in liminal spaces? ODDCORE, made by the aptly named studio ODDCORE, lets you choose your own Pew Pew 2 and special abilities before you head off to spaces that make no sense to earn tokens. Each visited floor, or variant as described in-game, has a different objective, like finding the exit, killing all enemies, or collecting a bunch of stuff. Once that objective is complete, you advance to the next variant. Sounds simple, but the thing is, you're on a timer. So your runs can end in 2 ways: dying or letting the clock run out. To prevent both of these things, you can spend souls. Yes, it's written with the $sign, and I think that's genius. You gather these from crates, but can only carry so many at once. So it becomes an issue of strategy and managing your resources well. For example, you can shoot them at your feet to restore health. You can also spend 3 at a time to portal to a special room where you can buy more time. When your run is over, you can use your tokens to play some minigames in the hub, which in turn gives you tickets that can be used to buy skins and other cosmetics. And of course, ODDCORE wouldn't be an arcade experience without a leaderboard. ODDCORE's release date is set to coming soon. Here's a really cute puzzle platformer with a cute bomb caterpillar. This is... Wait, how the hell do you say this? Right then. By Nama Takahashi, Tiny Cactus Studio, and Tsuyomi is a game where most of your movement is done by laying down bombs and using their explosions to propel yourself in a certain direction. You start just being able to lay 1 bomb, but you get more eventually. After putting down a bomb, you detonate it manually. The explosions can also be used to move other bombs, giving the puzzles a lot of variety. And variety is definitely the name of the game here. The demo lasts a pretty decent time, and at no point do the puzzles feel repetitive. Props to the developers really, it's a very good sign for a puzzle platformer to do this. If you think that's interesting, then you can check out UvsU game out right now. Fans of old school shoot 'em up should probably be very happy with this one. Platypus Reclayed by Claymatic Games is a remake of the 2002 game Platypus. It's a shmup made entirely in claymation, where you control the titular Platypus ship and fight squadrons of ships from Colossatropolis and try to defend the country of Mongolia. This is a game that absolutely sells itself on the visuals. I really like the cartoony clay animations and just how different it looks in the genre. And I'm not only talking about the ships here, I love these backgrounds and UI elements as well. It makes for a really charming game and, dare I say, kinda cozy? The soundtrack also really helps with the arcade feel. The Steam page does mention the game has remixed songs from the original as well, for fans of the first. Gameplay-wise, it is a very old school experience. You go through levels which are subdivided in areas. You dodge a barrage of bullets from incoming enemy ships, hit them with some of your own, occasionally get some different weapons you use to wreck even more enemies, and try to reach the highest score possible. The demo is pretty short, with only one level divided in 3 areas, and honestly, it succeeded in making me want more. Platypus Reclayed launches on September 18th, 2025. Looking for an RPG that tells its story from the perspective of multiple characters? Then take a look at Quartet by Something Classic Games. Quartet is an RPG divided into 4 main chapters that are meant to eventually come together, with the demo giving you access to one of them. The story seems to revolve around the nature of elemental magic in this world, and its uses by different people and countries. For example, the demo has you playing as Nikolai, a sergeant in the Oslan army, who's on a mission to track down a group of mages. In terms of aesthetics, it's impossible for me to not be reminded on some level of Final Fantasy VI. And no, I'm not just saying this because of the fantasy setting with some tech mixed in, but also the sprite work, which is really great by the way. The combat works on an AP system, regenerating your special move budget every turn. This allows you to be very liberal with how you use your magic. You can also swap characters in and out to attack in the same turn. This is coupled with other traditional RPG fare, like elemental weaknesses, buffs and debuffs, equipment, and others. While I didn't play the demo to the very end, Quartet already gave me the feel of a deep storyline. I'm not sure how the 4 main chapters will intertwine, but given the amount of world building I was exposed to in my first hour, I think the final product should have satisfactory narratives for the other party members. I just wonder if you'll be able to swap between chapters at will, or if you'll be given the option at certain junctions in the story. Quartet's release date is listed as August 26th, meaning it should be out when this video releases. An army marching to the music has probably never been this cute. Ratatan by Ratata Arts is a rhythm-action roguelike where you use your instruments to control a bunch of tiny creatures called Kobans to mow down hordes of enemies and defeat massive foes. You have a bunch of commands you can input with the beat, and these do different things like moving your little soldiers, telling them to attack and use special moves, or blocking enemy strikes. If the concept somehow sounds familiar, that's because this game is actually from the creators of Patapon, a franchise with a similar premise that was previously exclusive to Sony consoles. For the roguelike part of the game, you navigate areas that are divided into rooms. After beating the enemies in each room, you have a choice of where to go next based on the rewards you want, kinda like what Hades does. That way you can get a bunch of new useful traits, increase your number of Koban warriors, and also find delicacies that can be used as currency back in your hub, in exchange for upgrades and improvements to your chances in the next run. Of course, I also have to mention the general atmosphere of the game. The cheery music and wacky, colorful characters you'll be interacting with give the world of Ratatan a bright fantastical vibe, and I am in love with it. It somehow really looks like the kind of art I'd see in an animated music video, strange as that sounds. Ratatan will release in early access in September 18th, 2025. If you're looking for an action RPG inspired by 16-bit era adventure games, give a chance to Shrine's Legacy by Positive Concept Games. The game starts with a brief story about the world of Ardemia, which was invaded by an otherworldly being called Acklor. The monster was eventually stopped by a heroine called Kaylee Shrine, using a blade with 8 elemental gems. After her victory, the sword and the gems were separated and kept safe in case Acklor one day returned. We then cut to present day where Acklor has returned. You play as Rio, a descendant of Kaylee Shrine, who can wield her blade, and Rayma, a girl who uses a staff and knows a lot about the blade and the gemstones. Speaking of them, you get the first of the 8 near the start of the game, and your goal is to track down the other 7. Each gemstone will give you a new magical spell, which both Rio and Rayma can use. Outside of that, the game plays very much like the old SNES adventure games and action RPGs. Think A Link to the Past and Secret of Mana. Rio and Rayma level up and equip accessories separately, and you can swap between them at any point in time if you're playing alone, or have a second player join locally for some co-op action. Shrine's Legacy will release on October 7th, 2025. You like fishing? How about doing it to the beat of a song? That's how things work in Sinker Sound by Café. This is arguably one of the most interesting mixes of genres I've seen in this next fest. You play as this fisher girl who, after dreaming of a mermaid calling her to a strange lake, goes to explore this serene and mysterious place. To fish, you approach the edge of a lake, select bait corresponding to the size of the fish, and cast your line. When a fish is attracted to it, you'll match your input with the moment it touches the bait, and then you start reeling it in. Every type of fish has a different melody, and to get your catch, there are 2 things you need to pay attention to. First, you have to time your clicks and releases to this rhythm down here. You can hold a click for up to 4 beats, and releasing on time will fill up this tension bar according to the time you held the input for, with longer inputs increasing tension more. You have to keep a balance though, because letting the tension become too high can also cause the line to snap, just the same as allowing it to go too low. The second factor are these pulses that come in from outside as the fish moves around. Think of these as projectiles that you need to block by rotating this barrier around the catching circle with your mouse. If you fail to block these pulses, you'll be unable to increase your tension for about a second, which can give the fish an opportunity to escape. It's a very strange control scheme at first, but I got used to it eventually. You can sell any fish you've caught to these golems here to buy items and gadgets that increase your chances to catch fish. I have to say the text has quite a few spelling mistakes and stilted writing, and the game certainly could use some more polish visually, but I found its main mechanic to be unique, intriguing, and work well enough to catch my attention. Pun fully intended. Sinker Sound will release sometime in 2025. Would you like to be trapped in a horrifying building with tank controls and PS1 aesthetics? No? Well, too bad, because SSR Wives, The Murder of My Winter Crush by Hand Studios is here to terrify you. SSR Wives, for short, it's a really long name, is a survival horror game composed of low-poly graphics, an atmosphere that mixes terror and disgust, and intense, unorthodox camera angles. Maybe too unorthodox sometimes. This is a save room, by the way. It's the one place in a horror game where the camera shouldn't try to fuck the player over. It does its job pretty well when it comes to keeping the suspense on the long corridors though. In case it wasn't obvious enough, the game does take heavy cues from Silent Hill, and that also extends to its combat. It's slow and risky, and a lot of times it's not worth engaging enemies, which is a known aspect of survival horror games. My only real problem with it is that the enemies are shorter than you, and you need to attack them at a very specific angle to land strikes with the knife. Rather than make me feel like my character is a regular weak human in a surreal and hostile environment, which is what Silent Hill goes for, combat in SSR Wives almost gave me the feeling that it wasn't working at first, because I didn't get any visual feedback from landing my knife strikes until I faced this very specific direction. And even though you're supposed to avoid enemies, some of the narrow corridors and camera angles make this task more annoying than difficult. My suggestion would be to increase the size of the enemy's hurt box, but also buff their damage output to give players a bigger challenge. Despite my gripes with these elements, I very much enjoy the atmosphere. Between the infestation of rats and roaches, the flash-like room of the rocking chair, this frozen room, or the one of the creepy dolls, I spent all my demo time at the edge of my seat. A PC next to 2 showers. What kind of sick mind conjured this place? The puzzles were pretty intuitive too, and the Steam page also teases a sort of relationship system, where dialogue choices will be important. SSR Wives, The Murder of My Winter Crush, will release on January of 2026. If you're one for resource management and building mechanics, you should take a look at Starbirds by Toucan Interactive. And if this art style looks familiar, that's because Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell, the YouTube animation channel and studio, is the other half of this project. If you don't know them, they're these guys here.
We try to explain the universe and our existence one video at a time.
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong video. This is the right video.
What you just posted was so bizarre and stupid that my hairline crawled back, and I want to, well, die.
Taking charge of an expedition by a bunch of astronaut birds, you explore different asteroids to mine them for resources. You can also refine these resources into other ones, such as water into oxygen and silicon into quartz. Every level has a bunch of goals that you have to complete, mostly involving building certain structures or accumulating certain materials. You have to connect all the pipes and launch pods to the right places in order to clear those tasks. It's an intuitive game loop overall. I just wish that rerouting pipes to transport stuff between structures was a bit easier. A lot of the times I just removed the whole structure because it was less of a hassle. On top of the regular objectives, the demo also had a side mission that's meant to be different every time you play it, giving it some replayability. Starbirds will launch sometime in 2025. Would you like to ride a hoverboard in an alien planet filled with dangers? If so, you should give a look at Star Overdrive by Caracal Games. Star Overdrive is an open-world action-adventure game where you'll be playing as Bios, who's searching for Nous, an anthropologist who was stranded on the planet Sebeti 7 years prior. After crash landing on Sebeti, you find the local wildlife, get materials such as soft and hard. It's not funny. And use those materials to power up your hoverboard, and then use the hoverboard to explore this vast wasteland. The demo has you navigating 3 mines, where you get special abilities and solve puzzles to reach the end. It's very much like the shrines in Breath of the Wild. Combat is divided into light and heavy attacks. It's pretty slow, but also very satisfying to land the stronger hits. Naturally though, the big highlight of Star Overdrive is the hoverboard. You zoom around pretty fast and can go even faster by doing well-timed jumps on top of these hills and dunes, as well as going through these rings. However, you can't ride on top of metal for long, and trying to go on water will sink you. The demo does tease that you will eventually be able to upgrade your board to do both of these things though. It became clear to me very quickly that hoverboarding was the most polished part of the game, and arguably its main feature. Given how it grants you a very fun way of exploring the open world, I can easily see why. Even the demo's boss battle is done atop the hoverboard. That will certainly give a game some coolness points. Star Overdrive is already out. As a fan of both Metroidvanias and flash animations with stick figures, Stickility by Reglan was a nice little find. Stickility is a game about exploring a huge underground research facility of a company called Biotech and exposing their inhuman crimes to the world. You have a very straightforward combat system with weapon strikes and a dash that also serves as a dodge. But the really interesting part of fighting enemies is that you get materials from their corpses that you can use in your home base to craft stuff, including tools that work as the new abilities of the game, like these gloves that let you climb ledges. The home base can be accessed through vents, which also double as the game's fast travel system. Whenever you find a vent, you can go back to your base and return later. This really streamlines the progress in a good way. You reach a new area, find new materials, find a vent, go back to base, and craft something that will help you proceed even further into the bowels of biotech. Visually, while most of the character designs are obviously very simple, the animations have a ton of that flash personality, and the Metroidvania biomes have certainly proven more interesting than just secret lab. Like the tutorial area, which is a warehouse filled with crates, or the bookkeeping area, which is covered from floor to ceiling on paper, actually giving it a bit of a claustrophobic vibe. Stickility will release sometime in 2025. Alright, I'll go straight to the point with this one. It's called The Little Tomb, The Maholova Club, and the Search for a Dead Body by Café House. It's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll just call it The Little Tomb from now on. But more to the point, I'm a proponent of some things having to be seen rather than talked about. So, what the hell did you just watch? Well, The Little Tomb is an adventure game focused on exploration and interaction with objects. The latter earns you points, which you can then use to get new skills or hints on how to progress in the game. The story is, well, you play as Kofun, the titular Little Tomb, who's searching for a dead body to bury within himself so he can become a proper tomb. Aiding him is his friend Haniwa, who the Steam page describes as a young funerary clay sculpture boy who's always full of energy. Enough said. While the gameplay is really simple, there's not much besides finding different objects and interacting with them, the narrative of the game has this weird mix of morbid and cute that I personally found fascinating. I'm really struggling here to try and compare this to anything I've ever played in terms of tone. The game's trailer also shows plenty of places besides the playground in the demo, so I think you have a far greater variation of actions to perform in the full game. The Little Tomb, the Maholova Club, and the Search for a Dead Body will launch sometime in 2025. Looking for a colorful and cute action RPG? Then look no further than The Lonesome Guild by Tiny Bowl Studios. The game starts with a small amnesiac ghost befriending the little bunny Da Vinci and escaping from a corrupting red mist together. After meeting Mr. Fox, the trio is off to try and find Ghost's origins and see what can be done about the red mist. In battle, you control one character at a time, which is being possessed by Ghost. The other is controlled by an AI, but you can swap between them at any time. In fact, if you do it at the right moment, when a CPU ally asks for help, you swap to them with an added buff. Each character has a regular attack and skills that can have their use recharged by hitting enemies. Additionally, when resting at a campfire, you can talk with the rest of your party to increase your bonds, which can net you new skills. This game is certainly shaping up to be centered around the relationships between characters, and I'm curious to see how this dynamic will look with a larger party. The Lonesome Guild's release date is set to coming soon. roguelike deck builders don't have to be so serious all the time. The Royal Writ by Savesloth Studios is a very stylish card game about a king commanding his armies to march for him. Each card represents one of your loyal subjects. You place them on the leftmost column, and they'll march to the right with every turn. If they reach the other side of the board, that character is dead, and they're permanently removed from your deck. Each subject has specific attack values and abilities that activate during certain conditions. In every turn, the sum of values for all your cards on the field gets deduced from the enemy's defenses. On top of that, you can also use special cards that multiply these numbers, or transform the terrain of each space on the board to favor you. It's a pretty intricate and fun system overall, and it should take you a couple of runs to really start understanding things, but the payoff is pretty nice. The Royal Writ becomes fun very quickly once you start to understand how everything works. It will also mix things up occasionally when it comes to your opponents. My favorite fight in the demo is against this goose that forces your turns to be timed to the rhythm of the song. Of course, it wouldn't be a roguelike without random events. As you advance through battles, you have to choose where to go, and can then get gift cards, visit a shop, bet on horse racing, play a game of spin the wheel, and other activities that can grant you boons to aid your run. Between the funny writing and animations, the medieval-looking art style, the engaging mechanics, and the phenomenal soundtrack, I think you absolutely should give the Royal Writ a chance. And hey, if you like the demo, know that the full game is out now. Chances are you're familiar with the trolley problem, but if you're not, here's how it goes. A trolley is quickly approaching 5 people tied to the tracks. You can divert the trolley, but doing so will open a box containing a cat and a mechanism that might kill it. You don't know if the cat is alive or dead. Saving the 5 means discovering the cat's fate. Wait, what do you mean that's not how it goes? Alright, let me try this again. A trolley is quickly approaching a person tied to the tracks. You have the option to divert the trolley to save that person, but the mechanism is connected to a math problem. Can you answer all the questions correctly? What, that's not it either? Tough crowd, huh? Okay, how about this one? You are a schoolgirl named Tameko. You and your friend are late for school. Soon, your life will change forever. Don't let your heart get broken. By now, it should have become clear that I'm not talking about the actual trolley problem. Rather, I'm talking about the Trolley Solution by Dun-Duns. Yes, that second "by" is part of the developer's name. The Trolley Solution is a committee point-and-click minigame collection based on versions of the trolley problem that become increasingly more unhinged. The highlight of this demo for me is obviously the point where the game turns into a romance visual novel. Please send this one to your friends without context. Not only are the minigames pretty varied in terms of type and length, but they also unlock different routes for you to progress depending on how you clear them. For example, the one with the cat from before. Choosing to kill the 5 people unlocks one new minigame, while saving them sends you down a different path to another one. All in all, the absurd humor alone is enough to put this one on my radar. Definitely one of those really weird games that will give you a good laugh. The Trolley Solution releases in the final quarter of 2025. Ready to embark on an epic adventure on an island and beat up plants with a hockey stick? Then check out Under the Island by Slime King Games. Under the Island is a top-down action-adventure game about Mia, a girl who moves to Seashell Island with her parents. Soon enough, she and local girl Avocado get caught up in a quest after discovering an ancient cave underneath Seashell Island and finding out that it's going to sink into the ocean. From that point onward, you're free to explore the island, find new gadgets, and investigate strange happenings. I love the first dungeon I got to play in the demo, and all the mechanics introduced along with it. Blowing up stuff with bombs, and throwing fireballs to illuminate hidden paths and set stuff on fire. I love the boss fight too. For starters, the dungeon's boss key is a VIP ticket for a show. I really like when adventure games give a little more flavor to dungeon keys, instead of them being the same all the time. Then, the boss itself wasn't really a boss, but rather a series of minigames. First, you have to dodge this machine firing nuts and bolts at you, and light its furnace when it stops. Then you have to light 4 lamps at once without letting them go out. And finally, you have to keep a bunch of rabid fans from storming the stage. Listen, I love beating giant monsters as much as any gamer, but again, I think the boss being replaced with these minigames is a pretty interesting choice. Under the Island certainly takes a more friendly approach to things, for the lack of a better word, with a bigger focus on exploration than combat, both gameplay and story-wise. And while I wouldn't want every adventure game to do this, I like that this one did it. Under the Island's release date is yet to be announced. What if you had to outsmart your own past self? That's the premise of UvsU by UvsU. UvsU, not sure if I'm meant to say it as UvsU or actually as UvsU, is a dark 2D Metroidvania made with claymation in a creepy cute art style. The gameplay is mostly focused around solving puzzles and getting keys to proceed. The puzzles work like this. You start at a certain spot in the room, and then you have to collect this sun-looking thing. After that though, the game puts you in the role of this little devil, and you have to kill your previous self before it can get the emblem. After that, you're back to controlling the angel, and you then have to evade your previous demon self to collect the emblem another way. The cycle repeats itself for a certain number of times, until the puzzle is complete and you get the key. You have to move, activate switches and fire off attacks strategically to complete your objective before time runs out, while still leaving room for your future self to maneuver. It's a really interesting puzzle style, and things definitely escalate in complexity the farther you go, even if your basic controls only consist of movement, jumping and a projectile attack. You also have a few secrets to find by snooping around the map, which is nice. UvsU's release date is yet to be announced. Can you use your words to win fights? Find out in this week's episode of Wonder Stars by Paper Castle Games. Wonder Stars is a turn-based RPG with a beautiful art style straight out of 90s anime, and an even more unique battle mechanic. Instead of simply having specific attacks, you pretty much build your own, by combining words with different effects, like extra fast fire and strike to create extra fast fire strike. You can equip different words for different kinds of attack, elements and other properties, such as making your attacks hit multiple enemies or giving it a power boost. Wonder Stars is also a roguelite, and you cross different maps as part of the game's storyline, collecting items, talking to NPCs, going through choices with different outcomes, and of course, battling more enemies, which you can also spare to earn extra abilities you can equip. To do this, you have to keep a fool's HP within a certain zone, not going any lower. The story has that 90s charm to it as well. You start off with Ringo, an aspiring martial artist who's ordered to go shopping by her grandma, and then meets a wolf who steals a piece of map from her, with Ringo spending the first chapter giving chase. Wait, is this prologue basically anime Little Red Riding Hood? Jokes aside, Wonder Stars is not a game I had on my radar before, but it quickly became one I was really looking forward to. I know it's probably one of the best games I could have closed this list with. Wonder Stars releases on September 19th, 2025. Well, this is it. After 2.5 months, we've reached the end of the list. And despite the mess it was to organize all these videos, I still had a blast playing these demos. It reminded me of how fun it can be to cover the next fest when it happens, looking at games I might not have noticed otherwise, and finding new hidden gems among all the yearly releases. To reiterate one last time, to the players, between all 5 parts of this, I hope you found at least one new game to look forward to. To the developers of these games, best of luck. I guess I'll see you again when it's time for another Steam Next Fest. My name is Strig, and thank you for your patronage. If you're leaving already, please consider giving a tip in the form of a comment and a like. And if you're interested in coming back, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell on your way out. Thank you for visiting Strig's Game Café.